What's up, internet? Welcome back to the Generation Strength YouTube channel. We're back finally. We have our new gym space set up. Yep, Jaylen's gonna do a quick 360 for you guys. So like I said, we're back. We're gonna kick things off a little more laid back. We're gonna do some more raw footage for my deadlift session today. It's my first deadlift session, actual training session, not just hitting random singles in between being insanely stressed out and moving horse stall mats. So we're gonna do an actual training session today. Start of a new training cycle. I'm gonna be focusing on conventional pulls this block. Like if you've been paying attention so far, you know that I like to train both stances pretty consistently. So we're gonna be starting off today with a warm-up superset of SSB squats against chains, followed by seated box jumps. I really enjoy the combination of these two movements as a warm-up for a conventional deadlift, because if you've heard us talk about SSB squats on this channel in the past, SSB squats are great to replicate a deadlift pattern, right? We round a little bit more at the upper back towards the bottom and we unround coming up. It's pretty similar to a conventional deadlift pattern if you allow that to happen. The chains are just gonna reinforce that intent of being explosive. I'm only gonna be doing this for singles paired with one seated box jump, and I'm gonna be doing 4 or 5 rounds of that before going into warming up for my actual deadlift work. Eat shit that time. All right guys, so just a quick note about using these box jumps as a warm-up as well. First thing is you don't have to do them seated. I'm doing them seated today because I like the feeling of driving this explosiveness from a dead stop and not giving myself any momentum into the movement. You can do this standing too. You can also do it with just a straight vertical jump. You don't have to jump onto a box. Regardless, like taking away any momentum is probably going to be beneficial for you. But a big thing though, and this is purely anecdotal, this is just what I enjoy doing. If I'm pulling conventional on a training day, whether I'm setting up from a box or standing up, I try to make sure that I'm setting my feet where they're gonna be when I'm actually getting ready to pull a conventional deadlift. And then if I'm pulling sumo on the day, this is a little bit easier to do from a seated position. I don't really normally do this from a normal standing box jump, but I'll set my feet a little bit wider and I'll jump up from there. So just something to note, like I said, doesn't have to be done this way, but these are just ways that I enjoy doing this. Another important thing to note with using these in conjunction with your deadlift training is that you do not have to do a lot of these to get benefit from them. So today, for example, I'm very detrained. I have not been training consistently. I'm only doing 3 rounds of these before going into my actual warm-up sets for deadlifts, because like I said earlier, these are used as a warm-up and these are more so used to prime the body to be explosive, because the conventional deadlift is a very explosive movement. So if you're looking to incorporate something like this into your warm-ups for your deadlift training, start with minimal, 3 sets, and then a really, really easy way to progress these in your training is to just add a set week to week. So start with 3 sets, wave your way up to 6 sets, and go from there, and then you can reset the movement after a 3-week wave. You can add chain weight, you can add bands, you can add actual weight, you can do the squats off of pins, you can add pauses, things like that. There's a lot of different intensifiers that you can add to these as you progress over 3-week waves or 4-week waves, but just keep it simple. I'm starting with 3 sets today, and I'm gonna add 1 working set every week over the course of the next few weeks. Oh yeah, feels good. I know this probably might seem like common knowledge to a lot of people, but I actually see a lot of people not do this when they're, chalking their hands for hook grip, is to actually make sure you're chalking your entire thumb. I see a lot of people, they'll get a little bit of the inside of the thumb, which is great, but I rarely see people actually chalking the outside of the thumb. If you think about it, that is where you're grabbing when you're setting your hook grip, so it's important to have some grip there as well. So just make sure you're chalking the outside of your thumb as well as the inside of the thumb.
what you wanted, right? No more Mr. Nice Guy. Cause I woke up, I chose violence, shook up. These bitches silent, get fucked. Nowhere to hide and no luck. I must have flight, came to bludgeon all you pussies who can come. I've been feeling kinda manic, I might kill them just for fun. Like the heads, think you're better off dead.
God damn it. Alright guys, so as you just saw for my back down sets, I supersetted an isometric deadlift, which I had set up in a rack over here, where I was pulling into pins, and I would directly go and do a speed focused set for my back down sets, which were all triples. I'm a really big fan of these, especially when I'm far away from a meet. We're essentially using the isometric to just put as much force as possible into a certain position in the lift. And you can set this up a number of ways. The idea is to put the pins like where your sticking point is. But my philosophy or idea behind that has always been that the start position is the most challenging and most important portion of the lift. So I'm going to set up the pins in a way that's going to strengthen the starting position of the lift. So I set up the pins so the bar barely breaks off the floor, and then I do a max effort 5-second push into the pins, I let go, and then I go and directly perform my sets on the deadlifts. So I'm going to be running these in 3-week waves. I'm going to do a 3-week wave of the deadlifts paired with an isometric deadlift, followed by a taper or like a deload week, so to speak, and then I'm going to be running a 3-week wave of banded deadlifts for my back off sets after I perform my top set. So I'm essentially just kind of flop back and forth from the isometric deadlifts with the banded deadlifts, simply because the isometric deadlifts can be a great tool. I love using them, but they drop off really quick. They can accumulate a lot of fatigue, and the training effect we get from them just kind of wears off pretty fast. So I wouldn't really recommend running them for longer than 3 to 5 weeks at a time. I fatigue pretty quickly, so I'm running them in 3-week waves, having a back off week where I'll maybe just perform some light speed focused singles for my deadlifts on that day, and then I'll run a 3-week wave with the banded deadlifts for my back off sets, and I'm just going to alternate between the two.